Okay, this is a demo video using the demoception, and this is going to be a tutorial vid for my lovely wife who just picked up the demo because she watched the Totally Awesome Sauce Node KSP LAN party. I highly recommend it. It is hilarious, and they do lots of crazy weird constructions, which I'm not going to do here. I'm going to do something that actually flies. And they end up crashing stuff in the ground, probably because their designs are so over-the-top slapstick funny. Anyway, so the first thing you do, and she probably already knows this, is you want to select the capsule from the pods menu, which we already have here, so I don't have to do it again, although I can make two. Ha ha ha. We don't want to do that, though. So, you have to ask yourself, what is it you're going to do today? I think we're going to go up into orbit and come down. So to do the coming down part, we need a parachute, which is this little goober right here. And it's going to go down here at the top of the staging order, which I'm moving around with my mouse like a crazy person. Alright, so I can't bring down an entire rocket with just that one parachute, so I need to make a way to make the capsule come off the rocket. So we're going to do a decoupler under the rocket, or under the capsule, rather, sorry. And I'm going to put on a small fuel tank and a small engine. Why? This is what we're going to use to maneuver around in orbit and to deorbit ourselves. I'm also going to throw on a little bit of RCS thruster fuel. This is called monopropellant. Might be hydrazine or some other thing. And this is what we're going to use to maneuver around in orbit if we don't want to use the whole engines. So now I have RCS thrusters. RCS fuel. I need RCS thrusters to use that fuel. So let's throw on some of those right there on that tank. And I want to put those pretty much right by the center of, around the center of gravity, like right there. There's a tool down here, it's the center of mass. There's also center of lift, which does not apply if you don't have any wings. And center of thrust, which is pretty much straight down through the middle of your rocket if you're doing it right. If your center of thrust is off to the side, you will not go to space today. You will do some neat cartwheeling tricks. Alright, there's one other little module I forgot to put on, and that's the thing that's going to help us steer. So we're going to lower the tank down, just like that. We're going to put on this advanced stability assistance module thing, ASAS. That's totally not a cuss word. So now notice that changed my center of mass, because it's above where the old center of mass used to be. So I'm going to adjust that pretty much right where it needs to be again. This is so I only need 4 thruster sets in order to help maneuver the rocket around and make it do things and whatever. If I have the thrusters off-centered, or off the, I guess, the plane of the center of mass, then if I try to do translation maneuvers, which is basically moving it left to right and moving it up like down, that's going to be affected by the thrusters not being located at the center of mass. The other thing that's going to affect that eventually is going to be the fuel tank's going to run out of fuel, and that's going to shift the center of mass. But right now, fully fueled, it's right there. Alright, so that's not going to get us into space, so I'm going to throw on another stage here, and we're going to throw on one of these larger fuel tanks. And then we're going to throw on one of these LVT-45s, which is gimbaled, so it'll help us steer. That's not going to get us into space either. I need to add another decoupler. And I think we're going to go with 3 engines this time, or 3 things at once. So we're going to go like this. The triple coupler is a very nifty piece of work. I think I need to make one in a larger fuel tank versions for the full game. I'm surprised I haven't seen that in the spaceport yet. I must not be looking hard enough. And because I'm pushing so much more rocket now, it's already getting kind of long. We're going to need to use LVT-30s because these make a little more thrust. If you go over this, you'll see on the stats down at engine max power is 215 versus 200. So that's an extra 45 units of thrust. Plus, I have 3 of them versus the 1. So I'm actually making 645 units of thrust, which is a pretty good amount, versus only 200 up here. But that's okay, because I'm shoving so much more rocket, this will be good. Alright, so this still might not be enough to get us into space. before I think about fixing that, I need to make something to tie these together. The node video, one of the guys there hilariously didn't know you could do this. I'm thinking about demonstrating what happens when you don't, but I want to make something that works. Although there is some logic of learning through failure. You don't learn through success. Well, it's harder to learn through success. You learn through failure. I can't think of who said that. Oh, I know who said that. Hyman G. Rickover said that. Very smart man. Okay, so we're going to put these... They got these little reference lines. Well, I use them as reference lines. These little detail lines here on the tanks. You totally can't see my mouse while I'm wandering around. So I'm going to use those to kind of more or less gauge where I need to put my tanks and stuff. And I think I need to go right there. That's pretty good. Okay. And then to help these things quit flopping around, I'm going to select the stupid thing. I'm going to throw on little strut connectors. These are like glue, duct tape, epoxy, call it whatever you want. It works great to keep your rocket together. And now I need something in aerodynamics, because first thing we're going to do is we're going to fire these things off with just the SRBs here. And SRBs don't have any way of steering themselves. Neither do these engines. These are not gimbaled. So I need a way to help steer my rocket, which is what these articulating fins are going to do. They're going to be like that. That should be enough. So what's going to happen is my SRBs are all going to fire at once, because they're all down here at stage 8, down here at the bottom, right here. And then I want to detach them, which is going to be stage 7. But I want stage 7 to also activate these LVT-30 engines down here at the base. So you can just drag, you can just select them and it'll highlight the group of 3 and you can drag them wherever you want to go. So I also want to do that up here with this engine up here. I got this decoupler and the engine right above it. I want those to fire off at the same time. So when I hit the space bar and then attempt to get to space, 2 things are going to happen. It's going to detach and fire. And if I have my throttle up, it's going to actually activate the engine and send shooting gas everywhere, and it'll be awesome and fun. So that's a pretty basic rocket. This is almost enough to get us to the moon. I don't think it's enough to get us to deorbit and land, but I think it might actually be enough for the moon. But we're not going to put landing gear on this thing because we don't have the delta V, which is the ability for the spacecraft to change its velocity. And let's type this thing up, and we're going to call this Orbitaltest 1. Alright. Save. And we're going to launch this mess, and we're going to see what happens. And hopefully I don't have a telegraph launch, which is what happens when you got to send a telegram launch, when you got to send a nasty gram to all those loved ones that everybody died. So I'm looking at my rocket at the launch pad, and it's wobbling just a little bit, not too bad. It's pretty much balanced. I bet if I use RCS, I might be able to even knock this thing over on its own. Down at the bottom, you have the Navball, and it always indicates which way the spacecraft is pointed, which in this case is straight up, because it's a capsule, it's not an aircraft. The camera is focused on the center of mass of the vehicle, so it's right around down here at the bottom stage, probably because of these boosters that are down here and all the engines and all that adds a bunch of weight. So we got to zoom out in order to see everything. Okay, alright, so throttle is raised with the shift key, lowered with control, and then you press X, it completely nukes it. So you can go up again and then X goes away. That's about it as far as the throttle or settings go. So let's go ahead and launch this thing by pressing space. Bam! Alright. Oh, I forgot something important. That T, that control unit I put on there, let's activate that. You see the SAS light lights up? We want that on. And then you can see the fins start to dance around, because if I turn it off, they go neutral. So I want the rocket to steer itself along. Okay, you'll see on the side there as my SRBs, these overheat lights. They're getting a little warm. They start turning a little yellowish color. Alright, so I gotta hit spacebar to activate my first stage engines, which is group 5 here on the left. And we're just gonna burn this and straight up until we hit about 10,000 meters up. Everything in this game is metric, so we want to go to 10,000 meters. That means we've cleared a whole bunch of atmosphere, and we can then start doing what's called a gravity turn. And we're going to pick up some free planetary spin momentum, velocity, speed, because the planet's rotating beneath us, so we're rotating with it. So I'm late. So I'm going to turn to the little itty bitty numbers down in the Navball. It says 90, and I'm not going to turn all the way to the horizon. I'm going to turn a little bit, and I'm going to hit T again. And now the spacecraft is going to keep that heading, or try to anyway, because it's not really doing too well. So I gotta try to recover it. So you kind of have to manage and pay attention to what your rocket is doing. Otherwise it will end up doing crazy things, and if you're sitting back just relaxing with a cup of coffee or something, all of a sudden you're spitting coffee out of your mouth as your rocket decides to do something completely stupid that you didn't intend for it to do. So you kind of have to pay attention. Now, I'm really not paying attention to what the rocket is doing on the screen. I can go to map view, bring up my Navball, and fly using just this, because I got my apoapsis point coming up here. In fact, because my apoapsis is coming up at a nice rate, we're going to go ahead and turn more towards the horizon here some. Get some speed. Because speed in the sideways direction is what's going to help us make orbit. And we'll hit T now. Stabilize that out. And we're probably going to just burn this stage out. Yeah, so now I'm actually pointing a little bit towards the ground, the horizon. But notice the Navball shows the sky being... Oh, see, that's what we're talking about. First stage burnout. Bam, I'll detach that. And because I throttled down, the engine didn't come on, although it is active because I see the liquid fuel level there. And now I'm not steering looking at the rocket. I could be looking at up like this crazy angle here, and I'm not going to care. I'm steering by the Navball. I want the Navball pointed right at the horizon at 90 degrees. And if I can get it. Alright, now we'll turn engines on a little bit. And we'll turn them on a lot. Let's go back to map view. Alright, so my apoapsis, which is the high point, I always forget the mixed up periapsis, apoapsis, I always confuse them, is going upwards around 140 something. So let's kill our throttle by pressing X. And I still have pretty much all of this second stage fuel supply. And I still got all the fuel in here, because it's only going to pull from the one tank, because they're separate stages. You can transfer between stages. You can hold down Alt, right click, Alt, right click. Oh, I lost it. And now I can transfer between stages. I don't want to do that, so we're going to put that back the way it was. I want all my third stage, my mission stage, as much as I can. So I could wait the minute and 55 seconds, or I can use little arrows up here and I can speed up just a little bit until I get closer to the... See, I forgot again. Apoapsis. Alright, so I'm still looking at the Navball because I don't even have the view of the spacecraft up right now. And I'm going to turn right towards the horizon, hit T again. I'm going to nail the shift button to the floor. Pedal to the metal. Keep the shiny side up, river side down. Actually, because we're in space flying sideways, we're kind of like, I don't know, keep the fire end pointing backwards and the pointy end going in the direction you want to go. This is called prograde. Retrograde is when you're burning opposite of your direction of travel. So if I was facing... if I was looking at the nose instead of exhaust, I'd be traveling retrograde. Okay, so I see my paraapsis point is coming up, so let's go ahead and hit T again because I don't want to go clear out into space. And now we're looking at apoapsis of 190,000 meters and peri of, I can barely see it here, hello, 137,000 meters. The moon is way out here at 11 million meters. I got some trash out here. Bigger moonshot. I got, where'd it go? I got a capsule there already. I actually have something in orbit here. I got an untitled spacecraft. Oh, what's that? I can't switch to it. Okay. The current version of the full game now, I can click on something in orbit view, and it'll actually ask me if I want to switch to it or just set it as target. So that's kind of cool. So, yay, we're in orbit. And I can actually get down off of the second stage here. I probably overbuilt this thing as usual. I have a problem with doing that. I always make my stuff overly... I over-engineer it. I'm not really fine at going over it with a fine-tooth comb and shedding every single bit of unnecessary mass in order to just complete the mission. I kind of like having a buffer because now I may be able to get myself a transfer to the moon and back. I could orbit the moon. I'm not set up for landing at all since I don't have landing gear. And the bottom of my spacecraft. So, I'd be landing on this engine, the LV-909, which you can do if you do it really slowly. But I don't think I'm going to try that because that might end up a complete disaster, and then it becomes a tutorial of what not to do. So, this is getting into orbit, and we'll just go ahead and turn about. So we're retrograde. Oh, let's turn on RCS and see that in action. Alright, so looks like I'm flying over the planet, and really I'm flying kind of beside the planet. Oh, that's C is your cockpit view. So this is like a for real thing. This is all I'd be seeing in a teeny little window. Kind of like a Mercury capsule, I guess, with even less stuff in it. So I can use Q and E to roll the spin. Oh, I see little jets. Awesome. Little RCS jets. Now, if I turn RCS off, I can still do that because the capsule itself has reaction wheels in it. It spins a little motor with a mass on it, and it will end up creating a counter rotation of the entire spacecraft, which is why it's really hard to use just the capsule to spin things if you got a whole bunch of rocket. It's really hard to do. So, as the spacecraft gets lighter, it's really easy for this thing to sling stuff around now. Like I can press S, and it's my Navball. Don't worry about what the rocket's doing. The Navball is moving upwards. Even a Navball is crooked, so if I press W, or W as my wife hates me saying it, I can get on the 270 line. I keep trying to zoom out Navball, can't do it. And that means it's roughly facing westward. And then if I press A, I'm yawing to the left. But it looks like I'm going upwards because my spacecraft is actually flying more or less sideways. So let's put T and stable this down. Now let's make it actually like line up with what the world is showing beneath us. Kind of. Okay. It's hard. Alright, so now it kind of looks like what we're actually seeing from the planet. The planet's beneath us, and the Navball says the planet's beneath us. So alright, so if I pitch up, wow, it actually lines up. I'm actually pitching up. That's why it's hard to fly, because now I'm backwards, right? So I'm trying to like settle down and stuff, and it's not really lining up, because now it's like the opposite. So it's really difficult to fly using just like this view here. I mean, yeah, you can do it if you know which way you're going. Like, I'm already confusing myself saying what button do I need to press. This is going to go that way, it's going to go that way. And if I do some crazy, weird angle like this and I try to maneuver myself, I'm going to make myself sick. So I have to use the Navball. So I can, like, totally... I'm trying to go prograde now. I know prograde is around 90. There it is. That's the prograde marker. Whoa, I don't need to roll that much. Hello. And I'm all goofing up here. Don't do what I'm doing. And I keep hitting the wrong key. Trust me, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. Alright, so I hit T. Now I'm pressing prograde if the reaction wheels can actually kind of settle things down. Alright, so let's get down from orbit now. I hit T, or space bar, and that blows off my second stage as it falls away. So now I got this little stubby engine here. Well, I can throttle up. It's not doing anything because I didn't set it up to do activation when I hit spacebar. When I separated the second stage, I have to hit spacebar again, and I see a little liquid engine light come on, and now it says, it gives me the option to shut down the engine. So activate, it'll turn it off, or it'll turn it back on. So shut down, you can power your engine off. It's really not much point to do it unless like you're doing this number here and then you just, oh, I don't accidentally, apply a bunch of thrust and throttle away from something. I do that a lot when I'm docking and stuff, so I don't accidentally hit stuff. So now it's like really maneuverable now. It's like, woo, dancing around. This is similar to my wife's first spacecraft design, which isn't really a spacecraft, it's just an atmospheric rocket at the time, but we don't want to go higher up in orbit, we want to deorbit. And you know what we're going to do? I could just deorbit anywhere, really it doesn't matter. But I want to deorbit right where KSC is, which is that Africa-looking continent, and it's got that little itty-bitty, it's like the center, this capsule's like right on the other side of the planet from it. That's where Kerbal Space Center is. So we're going to slingshot around. Now we're in the dark side of the planet, and now we should be hitting the day side. Okay, now this is the tricky part, and I'm never really good at making a landing work where I want it to. So let's go ahead and stop here. Alright, so where am I at? This is all going to be Navball, because this is the best way to do it. I'm going to point retrograde, that's prograde. Retrograde is the one with only 3 ticks on it, and it looks like it's got an X in the middle, or plus sign in the middle. Mad keyboard smashing. Alright, so now we're going to apply some thrust, and you see my orbit begin to change. My periapsis is not dropping like crazy. I'm at full thrust. I've nailed this thing to the wall. And now the periapsis is dipping in atmosphere, which is below 70,000 meters, and now I don't see my periapsis at all. That means I'm on a ballistic trajectory. So I'm going to keep this up pretty much until I need to cut my engines, as the impact point is marching its way westward across the planet. And I can mouse over my spacecraft and see my altitude is 150,000 meters or so, dropping because I've already passed my apoapsis, which is the high point. So we're going to just keep this up. I can mouse over the resource tab and I can see how much fuel I have left. I got plenty to do this maneuver. And it looks like I'm going to get pretty close to just make sure I'm going retrograde, not some crazy weird angle. Plenty of fuel for this, so I'm going to detach this capsule with some fuel left in it. So this is the second stage that I got rid of earlier. It's passed me, and it's going to stay in orbit unless I select it and deorbit it later. So I'm thinking right about there should be good, and I'll adjust if I need to. Alright, so what we're seeing now is as the planet's rotating, the impact point has shifted. So if I keep this up, I might actually land. You can kind of see it. It hasn't rendered the beach yet, but you can see the runway strip kind of, and we're coming down kind of fast. So you know what? We're going to let's save our engine just in case. You couldn't do this in real life. You'd be all sorts of screwed up if you did. My velocity is going up because gravity is pulling me down, but I'm in the atmosphere now. That'll eventually not be the case. Let's see here. Yep, it looks like I'm just about going to be over KSC, which is good. And we're coming down really, really quick. And we're about to see some orbital re-entry things here. They should have added it in here. They didn't add it in here? I'm shocked. I should be seeing re-entry heat, but that's probably a later... Oh yeah, it's a later version of the full game, so... Anyway, so you know what? I can turn on my engine. And now we slow down. We slow way down. Whoa. And now map view is kind of much worthless for us now. But I can actually turn prograde. Kind of. I'm kind of flying crooked now. But I'm flying along the 90-degree line, which is right where the station's at, so... now I can kind of... Well, this is the problem she had when she was flying. It's really hard to do this. Alright, let's just fly straight for the horizon there. And let's go a little bit that way. Alright, so now... Alright, that's pretty good. Now if I had landing gear, I could actually try landing on Kerbin itself, but that's really hard. So, he's not going to have to walk too far. That's good. I can actually try soft landing this thing, but that'd be difficult. So our speed's still dropping because we are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Let's go that way a little more. I can just abort this mess if I end up getting too close. Yeah, I'm not going to make it. Let's go that way a little bit. And it didn't. I'm going to hit exhaustion. Okay, and I'll just pop that because we're done with that. And I'll pop that, which is going to slow us down. We're going to land right by the runway. They don't have the spaceplane hangar by stage. Have fun smashing into the ground. Impactor test. Bam! See ya! Alright, so now it's just a simple matter of waiting for this thing to land. Alright, just gotta text my wife. And we're going to come down right by the runway. Sweet. That we can even speed this up. We can go 4 times on this thing here and la 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 la. We can go in a cockpit view and then see like sky. Alright, so this is a successful test flight. Looks like I'm landing right on the edge of the runway. Bam! Sweet. So that's a good landing. That's right on the Space Center. It's within this region. They call this the green. I'm in the green, which is like if you're golfing. You're in the rough if you're in the dark green stuff, or if you do a water hazard, you end up in the water. But water's not too bad if you're pretty close to KSC. Water landings are kind of preferred. The Soviets, or the Russians, I should say, like landings. We like waterings with all other stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. I should probably shut up now and see if this actually came out. Talk to you later. Bye.